guys, and welcome to day 1 of my design fest. Probably should have come up with a better name, but screw it, we're already here. So for day 1, the theme is Grinning Ghosts, obviously heavily inspired from the Haunted Mansion. No, I don't have a Disney problem. Pfft. These were actually some of the first ideas that I came up with while I was first thinking up these ideas. Some great wording there. Maybe it's just my morbid sense of humor or some cruel and twisted sense of irony, but I kinda thought these were funny. So this first character on the screen, this is probably the first time a lot of you are seeing him, but this is Crow, another upcoming character from my comic. I don't know particularly why, but I thought it'd be kind of funny to chop his head off. Okay, I sound like a maniac, sorry. But Crow as a character is kind of kooky and weird, and I've noticed other characters also with removable heads tend to have something kind of kooky and weird about them, so I don't know, it just seemed to fit. Now, I kept this from being too gory since that wasn't what I was going for. When you ride through the Haunted Mansion, there isn't really gore, especially when you get to the graveyard. It's just a lot of silly designs and caricatures, so I was kinda trying to emulate that here. This one wasn't particularly challenging. I think out of all 93, this one design was probably the easiest that I made. It only gets harder from here. The only challenge here was trying to make them look ghost-like without making them transparent. I don't know, I felt like that was a little overdone. Just like, ooh, you can see through them, that means they're a ghost. Plus, I wanted to be able to put these on Redbubble, so I don't know how well transparency would have worked for that. Oh, I remember something outrageously hard from Crow's design here. Resizing the darn thing. Now, I was kind of an idiot and thought, well, if I have a high DPI setting and a large canvas size, I'll be set. Now, these will look so high definition, it'll be nuts. Well, I made his too big. That could be taken so many different ways. Oh lord. I literally spent 4 hours moving things around, rescaling things, calculating megapixels. Bleh. Pretty sure that counted as some sort of torture and it very nearly broke me, but whew, great way to start this. I was so tired by the end of this. No offense, I was not willing to redraw the entire thing. That would be utterly masochistic, and we're not to that day yet. I was so happy I put that DPI setting really high. I was just worried everything would get all pixelated and gross, but thankfully it doesn't look like that happened. Or if it did, I didn't notice. This was really late at night. Or early in the morning, it depends how you look at it. It was kind of funny, different people were walking in and out of my room while I was drawing this. All of them took one look at what I was drawing and looked at me like they were really concerned. Like, what? What's your problem, guys? It's just some decapitated kid. Pfft, nothing big, nothing major, you know, he just lost his head. It happens. Oh well, I'm pretty sure my friends and family were seriously considering my sanity during this. I'm just kidding, guys. I don't have friends in real life. How'd you go in there though, didn't I? So for this one, while it wasn't too much of a challenge, it was a bit tricky trying to draw his head in proportion to his body. It's not something I draw very often, surprisingly. And I figured I probably should try to show how he died, other than the whole, you know, losing his head thing. The original idea was to put a sword in the background, but I didn't feel like that was good enough. I'm pretty sure I just got that idea from binge watching too many Game of Thrones episodes prior to this. So I figured good old-fashioned guillotine would do the trick. I did consider putting blood, but again, I didn't really feel like that went with what I had planned. Looking back, I think I probably should have added a bit more detail to his neck and maybe played around a bit more with the perspective, but overall I think it turned out alright. On to the next one. Alrighty, on to Ray. So for hers, again, cruel sense of irony, my brain just thought, well, she's a mermaid in this story, so her death being drowning would be kind of ironic. Shockingly, there's not a whole lot of good references for drowned ghost on Google. It's all basically the same girl in the white dress who put too much eyeshadow on. So while trying to come up with ideas and concepts for Ray, my mind thought back to that one scene in Aladdin. You know, where the guys throw him in the water and he's all chained up and the genie has to save him. But I wanted things to look a bit more spoopy, so while trying to find more references, I remembered that animated Christmas Carol movie. You know, the one with Jim Carrey? So I used the business partner's ghost. I don't remember his name, that first ghost who shows up and he's all like, I'm trapped by the chains that I forged in my life, or something like that. And used him as a reference. So Aladdin, Christmas Carol, and the Haunted Mansion made this. I just think that's a tad funny. I also referenced the young girl's portrait in the stretching room. Weirdly enough, there's not a whole lot of detailed references for the characters in the Haunted Mansion, so I had to use what I could find available. I did still try to incorporate Ray's original design into this, a bit more than I did with Crow anyway. I tried to make the skirt a bit more flowy instead of the stiffer tutu style the young girl wears. Does she have a name? Someone let me know if young girl in portrait of stretching room walking a tightrope above an alligator pond has a name. That'd make referencing her a whole lot easier. Anyway, I did what I could to match the dress, at least to the suggested time period of the Haunted Mansion, while still incorporating Ray's original outfit. There's not as much wiggle room there. Everything for that time period seemed to all kind of be the same. I could have gone with a more elegant dress like the one the dancing ghosts wear, but I don't think that would really suit Ray's character. She comes from a lower income home, so she's not really going to be wearing some frilly frou-frou ball gown. I don't think that'd be something she'd be particularly comfortable in. Anyway, I thought she needed to look a bit more drowned ghost and less chained ghost, so I added some seaweed and water droplets. This is actually the first time I've drawn water droplets now that I think about it. Now, I had planned to add little fish and seashells and the like. I even had bubbles in the sketch, as you'll see at the end, but for some reason I forgot to add them in, and I didn't really think about it until now, as I was putting the video together and already working on tomorrow's illustrations. Whoops. I'm a tad bit scatterbrained, sorry. My mind's in like 1,000,001 different places at the moment. If I ever do a redraw of this, I'll have to make note, add more sea-related stuff. So in looking up ideas for ghosts, I remembered the Sims ghosts. Now they're all one color, but I thought the design was kind of boring, so I just added a soft tinge of color. For Crow it was red, for Ray it's light blue, and Ash has that green-blue shade. And some of the ghosts from The Sims have that cloudy look to them, but I didn't want the design to be too hazy. I already put too much work into everything to just blur it all out. So I plugged in some cloudy screen textures from Clip Studio Paint's surplus of them to give that uneven, blotchy look. Again, I was kind of an idiot and made the canvas way too big, so trying to add all of that by brush or by hand would have been near impossible. Or at the very least, really, really laggy. I don't think that would make for a very good video. I also added a bit of floral texture to the bodice of the dress to give it just a bit more detail. Now, I did try and shade the chains on Ray here, but then I realized you can't even see that unless you zoom in a bunch, but I don't think most people really do that, so I went ahead and skipped it. At least for those really, really tiny chains. Looking at it, I think I probably should have washed out the color a bit more. Washed. Just to give it a bit more ethereal and ghost-like look, but it's all part of the process. I think it's a good practice to note things you could have done differently, so at the very least you can try to draw them better in the future. I guess I'll just have to draw my characters as ghosts again next year. Unless I plan to do some crazy Christmas-themed drawing involving a Christmas carol, but yeah, I think I'll pass on that. I kind of want a bit of a break after all this, and besides, I kind of have to get back to critiques. And finishing up today's trio of illustrations is Ash. So my original concept, despite the joke I made about the ball gown earlier, was actually to make her more gypsy themed. One of my favorite parts about the Haunted Mansion ride is the seance room with Madame Leota. I mean, come on, I'm in the same room with the floating head of Maleficent's voice. I like how when they reskin the room for The Nightmare Before Christmas, they keep the feeling of the room the same. Anyway, I thought that since Ash is a kitsune in the story, and kitsunes are these clever little tricksters and all, they kind of matched the culture of gypsies, but I couldn't get the concept just right, and I wasn't sure how to kill her off as a gypsy. Of course, the death I thought of after the fact could still work with that concept. Darn it, perhaps one day I'll have to go back to that idea since I did still really like it. So I tried thinking of different ideas. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard of the Winchester Mystery House, but it has quite the story behind it. Look it up if you're interested, but I'm just going to go ahead and give you the Cliff Notes version here. So Sarah Winchester, after losing her daughter and her husband, was told by a medium that she was being haunted by the ghosts of the people killed from the Winchester rifles, and that she needed to build a home and never stop building it to placate the ghosts. So the place is rather odd, to say the very least. I actually got to travel there last year with my family. It's pretty interesting. My family liked joking that the house was built for me since there's only a few inches height difference between me and Sarah Winchester. She was really tiny. Like, really, really tiny. And one of my favorite parts about the mystery house was the seance room. And you know what else has a seance room? Yeah, I think you see where this is going. So I got the idea that maybe Ash did perform some sort of paranormal ritual but was sacrificed during it. Ash tends to act rather cruel and heartless in the story, so hey, maybe her heart got cut out during the ritual. Once again, Google failed me and I couldn't find a lot of good ideas for ghosts. A person in a sheet or some emo girl in a white dress is not a ghost, Google, come on. So I dug through some of the older concepts from the Haunted Mansion, or what I could find anyway, and I came across one of the designs for the bride. The one, in the addict who killed all her husbands. And I liked the idea of the glowing heart, so I used that to help sort of convey that idea. I wasn't sure if just showing some empty chasm in her chest would convey that. So Ash's overall design, besides being inspired by Sarah Winchester, was also inspired by the old lady portrait in the stretching room. I think that's the bride as an old lady, I don't know. I'm not super deep into Disneyland lore. But I changed it just a tad to look a bit younger and more elegant, and also to fit with Ash's personality a little bit better. I also pulled her hair back so it wasn't too modern looking, apart from the colors anyway. So in guide with my extra rules of trying to draw something I haven't done before or something I just don't like to draw, I kept it kind of small since we're only on the first day, but those things were flames and heels. Yeah, I don't remember ever drawing flames, weirdly enough, so I did my best with the little candles in the background, and I just don't really like drawing heels. I don't know why, I just don't. They always look weird and bleh. But heels seem to be needed for this design, so I guess I better suck it up and try anyway. I think the top foot looks a little bit off, but I can't really place why. The bottom foot I think turned out alright though. And I did go back to increase the candle flames afterward because I realized they were just a tad bit too small. Now the recording does cut off, but all you really miss is me doing the same thing as before, adding the color layer, the texture, the glow effect, and all that jazz. And that's it for day one. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Day of the Dead. Bye for now.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion. I am your host, your ghost host. Kindly step all the way in, please, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now. The carriage that will carry you into the moldering sanctum of the spirit world will accommodate you and one or two loved ones. Kindly watch your step as you board. Oh yes, and no flash pictures, please.
When the crypt goes creak and the tombstones quake, happy haunts materialize,
and begin to vocalize, and grim ghosts about to stop.